If there is one rule in reality television, and honestly, just in life, it is this: don't get too comfortable on the sidelines. If Jonathan Bennett thought he was safe just because he's the host and co-creator of the Hallmark Channel's smash hit competition series, Finding Mr. Christmas, he was sorely mistaken. The Mean Girls alum has been putting these hunky hopefuls through the ringer all season, testing their acting chops, their charm, and their physical endurance. But on the Season 2, Episode 4 premiere, which dropped on November 17, the tables didn't just turn, they completely flipped over. We are talking revenge. We are talking roasting. We are talking a perfectly coiffed host getting absolutely covered in grease. But in true Hallmark fashion, just when we were laughing our heads off, the episode took a turn that had us reaching for the tissue box. From the messiest challenge yet to a confession that broke our hearts, here is everything you need to know about the roller coaster that was this week's episode. The challenge that broke the camel's back, and nearly Gabrielle. Let's set the scene. We are down to the lucky 7. These guys are all vying for the crown of Hallmark's next leading man, a title that comes with a lot of pressure and apparently a lot of slippery foam. The episode kicked off with the festive face-off, a challenge that sounded fun on paper but looked absolutely brutal in practice. The producers called it the slippery slope. Imagine a massive hill. Now, cover that hill in industrial-strength Crisco and foam. Now try to run up it 3 times while carrying giant candy canes. Well, it was chaos. It wasn't just hard. It was physically grueling to the point where it was almost painful to watch. We aren't just talking about slipping and sliding. We are talking about pure exhaustion. Some of the men couldn't even make it to the top. One of the season's frontrunners, Gabriel Thaxton, pushed himself so hard he nearly threw up from the exertion. To give you some context on just how impossible this was, Jonathan Bennett's husband, James Vaughan, was on set. Now, if you follow James, you know he is super fit. He admitted to Entertainment Now that he tried the course before the cameras rolled. After 15 minutes of scrambling, he could barely make it up. Contestant Rustin Sailors took to Instagram to try and explain the madness, writing, "Look, I need you all to understand how insanely difficult this was. We were water beads on glass. Sweet, Gracie revenge. Once the torture, challenge was finally over, Angel Garrett managed to scrape his way to a victory. But the real winner? The collective spirit of the contestants. The guys were sweaty, exhausted, and covered head to toe in Crisco. And there, on the sidelines, stood Jonathan Bennett. He looked fresh. He looked clean. He was wearing a gorgeous blue sweater and stylish jeans, looking every bit the movie star. You could practically see the light bulb go off over the contestants' heads. Me and the guys give each other the eye, contestant Craig Jerkin admitted later. Robbie Simpson added with a mischievous grin, "We're going to give Jonathan Bennett a taste of his own medicine." It happened in slow motion and all at once. As lead judge Melissa Peterman, smart woman that she is, backed away to safety, the sticky 7 swarmed Jonathan. They circled him. They dragged him toward the slope. Jonathan, realizing his fate, let out a yelp of, "Oh no," that will live rent-free in my head for weeks. They didn't hold back. They glopped handfuls of foam and Crisco all over him, ruining the sweater and, tragically, messing up his perfect hair. As he stood there, dripping in goo, Jonathan hilariously shouted, "I'm so sorry I put you through this." It was the moment of levity we all needed after watching them struggle, and it proved exactly why Bennett is the perfect host. He can dish it out, but he can definitely take it too. From slapstick to stand-up. If getting tackled wasn't enough, Jonathan was about to get verbally tackled too. The next phase of the competition was a talent show. The judges included a live audience and 2 absolute legends, Hallmark superfans Gail Stansel and Alicia Griffin-Powell. You remember them from Christmas at Sea back in July. Icons. Robbie Simpson, a theatre director from New York who has been charming us all season, decided to take a massive risk. He didn't sing. He didn't dance. He chose stand-up comedy. And his target, you guessed it, Jonathan Bennett. I am honored to be here with Jonathan Bennett. Robbie started, his timing impeccable. As Jonathan peeked out from backstage with a smirk, Robbie delivered the knockout punch. In Mean Girls, Jonathan was the high school heartthrob. On Hallmark, he's more like the high school principal. Boom. The audience roared. Melissa Peterman actually kicked her leg up and shouted, boom. And Jonathan, he laughed harder than anyone. He knows his brand, and he loved every second of it. Robbie wrapped up his set with a surprisingly sweet sentiment masked as a joke. Christmas. It's about family. It's about togetherness. And learning that if Jonathan Bennett can make it on Hallmark, anything is possible. Jonathan later told the crowd, they say the best form of flattery is to be roasted, and so thank you, Robbie. The moment that stopped the show. And here is where the emotional whiplash comes in. Grab your tissues, because I was not ready for this shift. Robbie was riding high on the laughs. He called the set one of the coolest experiences of my life. But then, the guest judges, Gail and Alicia, started the interview portion. They asked Robbie a heavy question. Name one thing in your life you wish you could redo. The room went silent. Robbie's demeanor shifted instantly. About 10 years ago, my mom had a heart attack, Robbie began, his voice steady but thick with emotion. Melissa Peterman, watching from the wings, already had tears in her eyes. He explained that when he spoke to his mom on the phone, she downplayed it. She told him it was minor. She told him not to come home. And I thought, the best thing I can do for her is honor her wishes. I'm not gonna go home, Robbie recalled. It's a decision so many of us have faced. Trying to respect our parents' boundaries while worrying from afar. But for Robbie, the outcome was tragic. About a week later, he continued, she had a stroke and was in a coma and never woke up. So I never got that chance to see her or be with her or say goodbye. He looked at the judges, completely vulnerable. So if I could go back and redo anything, I would go home the second that happened. It's something I think about far too often. There wasn't a dry eye in the house. It was brave, it was raw, and it was real. It reminded us that behind the glitz, the games, and the Crisco, these are real people carrying real stories. The final verdict. In a show of incredible sportsmanship, Angel Garrett, who won the slippery challenge, held the immunity card. He could have kept it, but in the elimination ceremony, he passed it to Robbie. Honestly, Robbie didn't even need it. The combination of his bravery in the comedy set and his heartbreaking vulnerability about his mother had already convinced the judges. He won the challenge hands down. Sadly, that meant we had to say goodbye to someone. The bottom two came down to Craig Geocan and Gabrielle Thaxton. Gabrielle had been in the bottom for 3 weeks in a row, and despite his heart, the judges decided it was time to send him home for the holidays. So, we are down to 6 men. The stakes are getting higher, the emotions are getting deeper, and if this episode proved anything, it's that finding Mr. Christmas is about way more than just finding a pretty face. It's about finding a leading man with heart, humor, and the ability to laugh at himself. Up next, the drama continues on November 24 at 8 p.m. Eastern. If you missed this episode, do yourself a favor and catch up on Hallmark Plus.